Bro, what the heck are you doing?
I'm doing a subwoofer crawl.
Let's do this. Well, welcome to today's episode, everyone. We got a pretty exciting episode for our viewers today, Ralph. We're going to be performing an actual sub crawl, but otherwise this is really intended to be a video for people that really don't know how to get more impactful bass from their subwoofer, because a lot of people just assume that the front of your room or right next to your home theater is the best placement for your subwoofer.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And this video is basically just talking about like the weak areas in your bass. You know what I mean? The inconsistencies and all that stuff, bro. This is the reason why we're going to talk about the legendary subwoofer crawl in this video.
Exactly. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using actually dual subwoofers.
That's right.
And just a quick disclaimer. So Starke Sound did actually provide us with the pair of SW15s, which is their 15-inch subwoofer. We'll provide more information about the subwoofers in the video description. And we thought this would be a great use of those subwoofers in this type of video. All right, Ralph. But before we get into the actual meat of the video, which is performing the sub crawl, let's go. I'm going to have you answer this question. But why does sub placement matter in a home theater?
Well, the reason why sub placement matters, bro, is because you're trying to identify the nulls in the low frequencies in the bass, because you know you're sitting there getting a really expensive subwoofer, and then the next thing you know, it doesn't sound right, and you're like, oh man, I just spent $1,500 on a subwoofer and it just sounds terrible. Well, this video is basically to show you to eliminate those nulls in the system, so this way your subwoofer will come into life. You know what I mean? That's the whole purpose of why we're doing this video. Another thing I like to highlight is that not all rooms are created equal.
Well, that's great, Ralph. Well, we're almost gonna get there, but one thing we need to mention is, you know, the gear that you actually need to perform a sub crawl.
That's right.
So for this demo, we're gonna use dual Starke Sound SW15 subwoofers. They're 15-inch subwoofers. Right. You obviously need an AVR, so you need a way to output those subwoofers, and then you also need either test tones. So you can either go on YouTube and you can get some low frequency test tones. You can watch your favorite movie scene if you're very familiar that has a lot of bass, play music, etc. So you need something to output the sound. So the best thing to rely on is right here, your ears.
Exactly.
That's what you're going to be using for the crawl. All right, Ralph. Well, let's get into the meat of the video, which is let's perform the sub crawl. So what we're going to do is we're going to just show a video footage of us performing the actual sub crawl, but we're going to narrate over it so that way, you know, we can explain exactly what's going on.
Actually, step one, put your subwoofer where you're sitting. That's the step one.
And I know this sounds weird, but if you sit at a sofa, you're going to literally put the subwoofer on the sofa.
On the sofa.
But trust the process.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Okay, so next thing you want to do, now you want to start out in the corner, your left corner, right corner, wherever you want to start. And what you want to do is that listen to those tones. And you're going to crawl literally on the other side of your room, but you're going to listen to those tones. What's deeper in bass? What sounds tighter? What sounds more boomier? Obviously, you want to go for accuracy, right? So you don't want anything too boomy. You're looking for the best bass to your ears. While I'm doing a subwoofer crawl and listening to those tones, I place a piece of tape down, and that will set where I want to set my subwoofer at that sounds the best. That's what that whole purpose is.
And there might be more than one spot too,
yes,
right, Ralph?
Exactly. There might be more than one spot. Your left corner might sound the best. The middle of your room might sound even the best.
All right, Ralph, that's pretty awesome, man. Now, that is for typically one subwoofer placement. Now, what I want you to mention is how do you perform this with dual subs? So why don't you go ahead and talk more about that?
Okay, to perform dual subs, you're gonna do the exact same thing with your second subwoofer. So set your subwoofer there. Set your first subwoofer that you find out where's the best spot and where that first subwoofer goes. Do the exact same thing what we told you to do. Put the subwoofer onto the couch, then crawl around again with both subwoofers going. The reason why is because you don't want to cancel the other sub out. So you're basically trying to find the best spot for your second subwoofer as well. So as I crawl around the room, I figured out that my subwoofers sound really, really good on my front right corner, my left right corner, and my left back corner of my room. The reason why it sounds good to me is because I have two big open areas on my right-hand side there.
All right, Ralph. Well, you know what? Hopefully our viewers found that useful.
Yeah.
It was pretty quick. There's a couple more things we want to address, but you know what? I think we could just add into final thoughts just to keep this video somewhat short. Anything else that you want our viewers to know, or what they should need to know
Yes.
when they're doing a sub crawl go.
So when you're done doing your subwoofer crawl and you got all your subwoofers placed to where they are, make sure that you go into your Odyssey or YPOW or your room correction utility and redo everything. So that's the thing. That's the one thing that I will say for final thoughts is that make sure you go in there and rerun your calibration. So that's my final thoughts, bro. What are your final thoughts about this?
You know, for the most part, I want to say that more novice to amateur home theater individuals will usually just place their subwoofers to the front because it looks the best.
It looks the best, yeah.
Right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that because it looks the best, that it actually is going to perform the best.
That's right.
So for people that are really into home theater and they invest a lot of time and money into those components, they will sacrifice sometimes aesthetics for actual performance. So if you have your subwoofers to the side of the rooms, that might look weird.
Yeah.
But you're doing that intentional, right?
Yes.
And the same thing from putting one in the front, one in the back. We've actually done a video about dual subwoofers. We'll do that towards the end of the video, and we would recommend that you click on that one to watch.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that concludes our video, Ralph.
Absolutely. So make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification button.
And as always,
Keep it hi-fi.